has been some disagreement, as you know, inside your own party with some of the more progressive members saying that Democrats gave up too much in negotiations.
I say these are folks who've never negotiated any deal that I think has ever been successful.
An attack on Jill Biden's doctorate that managed to be petty, elitist, and misogynistic all at once.
Jill Biden surveyed 159 students, but she received a total of 162 responses. So go ahead and try that at home. You can't. You're not a doctor.
Man, Tucker Carlson just fired a torpedo at Dr. Jill. He must have a serious blood feud going with her because he dedicated a big chunk of his show last night to just taking her down.
Well, here's what I think is funny is it's like this would have just gone away. You know, the guy would have written the thing in the WSJ and everybody would have moved on with their day. But no, the left decided that they need to die on the hill of Jill Biden's doctorate, which has now been exposed to be total junk. And now they have to defend her dissertation. You know, it was their choice to make this the battle right now. And I don't know why they would choose this as a battle because it seems like a terrible place for them to be is defending the integrity of Jill Biden's academic credentials, which are not very strong.
Right. Two things on that. One, remind me that I wasn't recording for the first few seconds of the show.
Okay.
At the end. Two, you're right. If it wasn't a total overcorrection by the media on this to just jump up there and demand again and again, take it back, take it back, take it back. If they made it into it, I mean,
she's very smart. Her degree is very important and good.
Oh, wow.
Very important.
We know.
Her response praised on social media as pure class and intelligent.
That's right.
Growing up, Jill Biden famously punched a bully in the nose to defend her sister.
Everybody knows about that story. It's a famous story.
But many are saying what was written about Dr. Jill Biden would have never been written about a man.
An attack on Jill Biden's doctorate that managed to be petty, elitist, and misogynistic all at once.
As numerous professors told the New York Times, the suggestion that Dr. Biden not use the honorific was blatantly sexist and emblematic of the way many men question or disparage women's credentials.
But really, it's just
Who needs the talking
No, but then do you give it oxygen by talking about it? Do you give it energy? But you do have to bring attention to it and saying this is outrageous.
Yeah. Do you give it oxygen? It really is a pernicious, ugly thing. Do you bother to give it oxygen? But you can't, it's so egregious that you have to say something.
You just can't let this go. You can't just let somebody write an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and just not comment on it. That's impossible to do.
And this is hard to say without seeming sexist, but aren't they all proving why there are men's clubs? And like why Barstool Sports was from its inception for the first 15 years kind of a guy hangout place? Because this reaction is guys wouldn't react like this if you go at another guy. Guys don't have this thing where they give a flying bleep. But like, my goodness, that is simply not unfit to print. That is not, I don't like that whatsoever. This is disgusting. Misogyny on display. Misogyny? I mean, that's why nobody knows the word misandry. Because it's never used. Because men never use it. And I understand.
Well, some do. There are some men on the weird recesses of the internet who claim to be
incels maybe use it, and probably some metrosexual guys on skinny pants on scooters maybe use it. If people are metrosexual anyway, I assume those people are. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's
actually
done. Metro.
Whatever it is now.
Yeah.
Oh, but I mean, this is such a poor sporty. God, we got to change the rules and let my little sister play kind of thing. It is, and it's pathetic.
Well, and it's a weird hill to die on.
You're extra sensitive, so you have to change everything you do in the way you speak, etc. And you can't write tongue-in-cheek columns about us because we're sensitive about that. God.
Right. I mean, it's just an odd choice for them to make this a big thing because her dissertation or her they have some other name for it because it's an EdD and not a PhD, so it's not called a dissertation, but I forget what it's called. But it's really a weak document. And, you know, Tucker points it out in some of the audio you have. There have also been people breaking it down on Twitter. It's full of typos. It's full of math errors.
We're going to get to all that in a moment.
It's a mess. But my point is just that they chose this. They chose that they want to make this the battle. The world is full of people with junk degrees from junk universities. I mean, and to be fair, most of the degrees that aren't a hard sciences or an engineering degree are junk, frankly. You know, that's just how it is. But you know, there are real academics in a lot of fields, particularly at the high levels. But this thing that Jill Biden has is not that, you know, and whatever. It's fine. I'm not going to sit here and dismantle the university system today, but they're the ones that wanted to make this the fight, to defend how important it is that she interviewed 160 college students in Delaware.
Right.
That this is life-changing, important academic
and that
work.
was after round one when they said, yes, a doctorate is just as important as anything else. Yes, it is. Yes, it means she's highly intelligent. You know, nobody would have discovered this, whatever, document had they not upped the ante.
Right.
You know,
nobody cared.
Right. Nobody cared. And now they found gold. Because now what she's written is extraordinary.
Her dissertation this week, the very document that made her, quote, a doctor. And what did we discover when we did that? We're going to give it to you in a diagnosis. Dr. Jill needs reading glasses. Either that or she's borderline illiterate. There are typos everywhere, including in the first graph of the introduction. Dr. Jill can't write, and she can't really think clearly either. Parts of the dissertation seem to be written.
This is harsh, but it is a dissertation or whatever. We'll call it a dissertation. And it is for her doctorate in education.
Right.
So this isn't like her doctorate in, agrarian supplies. You know, this is precisely about education. This you'd want to be spell checking and dotting I's.
Of course. And, you know, as you said, nobody would even have dug up this document and looked at it had the left not decided to make a big thing about how important it is and wonderful it is that Jill Biden has a doctorate and that we're all supposed to defer to it. So then at that point, it's fair for people to go and say, like, so why is she a doctor? Let's take a look. And then, you know, this happened. But nobody was going to go through Jill Biden's dissertation with a fine-tooth comb until the left decided to make this into a thing.
In a foreign language using English words. They're essentially pure nonsense, like pig Latin or dogs barking. The whole thing is just incredibly embarrassing. And not simply to poor illiterate Jill Biden, but to the college that considered this crap scholarship. Embarrassing, in fact, to our entire system of higher education, to the nation itself.
Jesus.
Jill Biden's doctoral dissertation is our national shame. Are we overstating this? Well, you decide. On the very first page of Dr. Biden's opus, she describes an average class of students at a community college called Delaware Tech. Of course, she counts the students by their skin color. She's a Biden, after all. But pay close attention to the math. Quote, 3/4 of the class will be Caucasian. 1/4 of the class will be African American. 1 seat will hold a Latino. And the remaining seats will be filled with students of Asian descent or non-resident aliens. In other words, somehow Dr. Biden accounted for all 5/4 of the class, which actually isn't easy. You've got to pay very close attention to do something like that. As the dissertation continues, so does Dr. Jill's habit of counting things in non-traditional ways. On page 47, for example, she writes this, quote, of the 159 students surveyed, 55 received financial aid, 41 pay their own tuition bills, 45 students' parents pay, 3 spouses pay, 9 receive scholarships, and 9 others receive funds for the GI Bill, vocational rehabilitation programs, or grant. Now, we said that fast, but did you follow the accounting there? Jill Biden surveyed 159 students, but she received a total of 162 responses. So go ahead and try that at home. You can't. You're not a doctor. And it goes on. At one point, Dr. Jill suggests, and this is innovative, that, quote, the administration may want to consider in future planning an 8-week study week. An 8-week week. Bet you no one in the administration thought of that before. In their tired, Western, linear approach to time and space, there was only a single week in a week. Yet another relic of the patriarchy. But once Jill Biden smashed the glass ceiling that shielded community colleges in Delaware from new progressive approaches to time management, a week could have 8 full weeks. As Jill Biden herself might say, that's an 8,000% increase. Not bad. All right, we're being cruel there. We got to be honest and tell you that not all of Jill Biden's dissertation is hallucinogenic fantasy. Some of her claims seem real. Some are easily verified. Take this one. Quote, according to the retention director at Cecil Community College has made a concerted effort to address retention, end quote. So there you have it. In Delaware, retention directors say they're addressing retention. So consider the debate over Cecil Community College's retention efforts settled, straight from the source.
That is vicious, but it does kind of make sense. It does make sense. If she's not very bright, and I don't know, I haven't heard her enough to know if she's very bright at all. Maybe she just whipped something up in an hour and turned it in. I don't know what that is. But her husband's not very bright. Mm-hmm. Her husband is kind of an oafish guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's birds of a feather situation. Then again, I don't know. Who knows? But it's a passion of Tucker's at this point.
Well, yeah, but who made it a passion of the right?
Right. No.
The people who run around insisting that we call her a doctor.
Right, and then the people who had to slam this veteran writer from who's been writing forever for Commentary and other magazines, who wrote this thing for the Wall Street Journal. It gets me thinking, speaking of Commentary magazine, they had a great point yesterday, which I passed on to you. Mm-hmm. But these public health officials are sociologists, not medical, not MDs.
Right.
They're not, they wear lab coats sometimes. Like, mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, because on Twitter, they're showing the Dr. Ferrer of Los Angeles Health Care Facility, Department of Health boss. She makes almost $500,000 a year. And she was talking about the COVID numbers in California a few days ago, and she almost broke down as she mentioned the number of deaths, crying. And I thought to myself, why are doctors now crying while they're telling about, how many people have COVID?
Right.
If anything, you should keep your bleep together. So I just happened to look her up. Dr. Barbara Ferrer, PhD, MPH, MED.
Masters of Education, Masters of Public Health, and PhD.
Right. She's not a doctor.
Not the type you.
She's a Dr. Jill Biden kind of doctor.
Right.
And like, Jesus, of course, no wonder why she's crying up there while giving the COVID stuff.
The only person on the right I know who does this is Seb Gorka. Sometimes goes by doctor.
Oh, no, there are plenty of people do it on the right,
too.
That's
fair, but...
Plenty of people do it on the right. But the thing is that during the pandemic, I think, maybe is when...
If you're not a doctor, you should not go by a doctor.
You dial it back just a little bit. Just a little bit. For the hell of it. But it's crazy, because these public health officials, it's important that people know that. They're not in the
medical profession.
Medical beaker world. They didn't come straight from the lab and run out to us. These are people, sociologists, who study societies and how to manipulate large-scale, initiatives. Mm-hmm. So they're the absolute definition of a bureaucrat. So when they tell you that you don't need a mask, and they said because they logistically are worried about a fear of a run on masks, so there won't be enough of the good ones. They saw the fear. They saw the manipulation as being, that's job one.
Right.
How do you want to do it is job ancillary.
Right.
We'll just tell them that the masks don't do anything. Okay, that moves the most people at one time in a certain direction. Everybody says, I do it. Good, bang, tabled, we'll do it. There you go. And it's remarkable just to watch these people. And I just moments ago before this podcast started, I just found something on Twitter that is the very definition of. Did I just say it twice in a row? It's the best illustration of this that I have ever seen, and this is freaking wonderful.
Okay.
Governor Whitmer in Michigan. Mm-hmm. This is one of these governors who loves the lockdowns. She loves lockdowns. She's, of course, one of these governors whose own family has been breaking the lockdown rules the whole time. Mm-hmm. She just released a video for today's lockdown government press conference where she tells you what you can't do. She and the public health officials have found a new strategy, and it involves children and an iconic figure who's been unearthed this year, because I assume most years this is a very un-PC thing to do.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And I also know someone who's been really following the rules and making...
Oh, wow, who could that be? So I'm looking at the Zoom meeting now. It's her, and there's maybe half a dozen little kids in the other little boxes. In the top right box, somebody very famous this time of year, live from the North Pole.
Making sure that he stays safe and the elves stay safe. And so my special guest is Santa.
No one's manipulating anybody at all. He's following the rules so that he stays safe and the elves stay safe. This is the ultimate public health elf on the shelf strategy.
Santa Claus.
Hello, boys and girls. How are you?
Does anyone have a question for Santa Claus?
Santa, do you have to wear a mask?
When I'm in...
Wow, what an insightful and appropriate, timely question.
I mean, I don't think anybody put that kid up to that at all. It seems like the first thing little kids ask Santa.
That's what they want to know. It's nothing ever self-centered
about presents or reindeer.
Yes. They don't want to know anything about that.
In my workshop with all my elves, we all are masked up in social distancing.
Hi, Seth. Hi, Santa. Should we read out cookies and milk also some carrots for the reindeer this year?
Yes, please do. Set up carrots and cookies if you can.
I do also like the, production house music that they have to use. Something left over from probably 1987. It's where the government is putting the presentation together.
Hand sanitizer if you're done with the cookies and milk.
That was a...
Did you hear that, the question?
Something about those cookies and milk?
Yes. Well, but the little kid asked, unprovoked, unprompted, if he uses hand sanitizer. Which is precisely what a 2-year-old would want to know.
Good suggestion.
Excuse me, Santa.
Yes?
Is coronavirus in the North Pole?
Everyone has been testing negative. We're still getting tested.
Phew.
I think we're so far up north that it might not be getting to us, but we're not going to take any chances.
Even if it's a place where it can't possibly get to us, we're not taking any chances. So we up north in the North Pole, we all wear masks and do all this stuff and social distance. So if you're alone or with your mommy and daddy in the middle of the woods, you should too. Remember, I am, and I can see what you're doing.
We're all going to mask up. We're all going to wash our hands, and we're all going to stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah!
Hi, how can we keep people safe for Christmas?
What I would suggest to do is what the governor is telling all the people of the great state of Michigan to do. Social distance, wash your hands.
Can you imagine that because, I would say so, that because, they know that a good percent of the population now finds the Governor Whitmer to be vile and somebody without credibility, without credence, somebody not to listen to, and these other public health flacks, that they're saying, okay, find a beloved icon and have the icon do the talking now. Since when we do it, it doesn't seem to matter. And grab kids, give them preloaded questions, and let's make this thing go.
Right. I mean, do you think, though, there's really any difference between that and the strategy of having, Ian McKellen take the vaccine on camera and tell everybody about it. And all the adults, quote unquote, are like, oh my God, Gandalf took the vaccine. If it's good enough for Gandalf, I'm going to do it too.
I think it's certainly more sadistic. I mean, there's been nothing is using.
I mean, to do it to children is obviously terrible, and it's pathetic that the adults in our society are that susceptible to acting like children. But all of this, having celebrities do public service announcements is the same thing, just for adults, right?
Yes, but at least
but doing it to kids, yes, is more ridiculous, and doing it with Santa is just.
Kids should be, concentrating on more important things, like their gender identification. I think. At this age.
And make sure you wear your mask when you're outside your home.
Screw you, Santa.
And another way to stay safe during the holiday is to stay home, but call your grandparents and your cousins.
Telling the kids, you make sure that your parents stay home, call your grandparents. You're not
Santa
going anywhere.
Santa said he's not going to bring you presents.
Exactly. We're your parents.
And your family, and it's the safest way to tell the people you love how much you care about them. This year it has to look a little bit different so we can stay.
It has to. Right, Santa? Yes, it has to. Do you understand that?
Safe. And I appreciate all of you doing your part. Santa, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Let's hear your buzz. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, Jesus. And Santa's some guy named Rick who works in constituent services. She's like, hey, useless, get over here. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's really bad. And I don't know.
And the thing is that we're not anti-mask. We have masks and we wear our masks. I don't wear it when I'm out walking, but I have them. I wear it in the stores. I don't want to scare the hell out of people or people, etc. But it should feel wrong, and it is wrong that elected officials, servants of the people, are making these weird demands on people. a lot of which, based on their own evidence, are just symbolic.
Right.
Don't do anything. I'm sorry, but the contact tracing on the restaurants is a head scratcher, considering it's been a huge priority. But it's just about they don't want you going out there and being liberated, as we've talked about, or acting liberated. When you're out there at restaurants drinking and having a good time and happy, it seems like you're not concentrating on the coronavirus enough. So no, you better, if you're going to be happy, there's only a few other things. And like we said, public health experts, again, these are not medical people.
Right.
These are
behavior people. And remember, that's why they said this summer that the Black Lives Matter protests and then the subsequent riots, etc., were public health emergency issues. Because they're behavior people and they're political people. They're ideologues. Crazy. So that's a happy ending that it's been for this year, that somehow it's been a bad year for people who call themselves doctors. I've been complaining about our guy who calls himself doctor since before the pandemic. Right, Dr. B, our school superintendent.
He was a nice enough guy, but Jesus, come on.
Yeah, and you were especially upset about it once the pandemic started, and we were getting calls every other day from Dr. B, who was not a doctor. And you were like, maybe during the public health emergency is the wrong time for non-medical doctors to go around calling themselves doctor.
And so many of the messengers can't help but combine their messaging with, and that was the same when I heard Dr. Ferrer was on MSNBC today. She talked about that. It's hard now. Right now, we've had 3,000 deaths, or the average, or 800 deaths a day, or whatever. It's the rolling average. I don't know how many actually a day, but in California. And she's like, well, I mean, the only thing that we can do. People think it's going to be a miracle that this is just going to end it, but it's not. The only thing we can do right now is just keep following the rules. Do your best to follow the rules. That's what we can do. And it's like, that's a dangerous thing to say. That's a dangerous thing to say. That's a nice and helpful thing for her and them, but life isn't just like that. In following the rules, when the rules encapsulate a bunch of things that are harmful but not helpful,
right?
For them to say just flippantly, just follow the rules.
I mean, mask wearing, as far as I can tell, in Massachusetts has never been higher.
Right.
And yet there's virus everywhere.
Right.
You know, Governor Baker told us a few months ago that if everybody wore masks religiously, the virus would be gone. And that hasn't happened. Why hasn't that happened? Because masks maybe help at the margins a little bit, but that's not the driving factor of this. And
right. Well, California's been underground for a month, and it doesn't matter. With the exception of, the French Laundry, most places have been stifled in California.
Right. Look how locked down we were in the spring. And then at that point in time, there was really high compliance, not with masks because masks were not allowed then, but with staying home. Everyone really stayed home for those first few weeks. And still 8,000 people died in Massachusetts like over the next couple months. That's what happened because the virus was already here and it already spread around. I read something that said the Biogen conference was 1.6% of all the cases in the U.S. can be traced back to that Biogen conference in Massachusetts. And so it's really, the virus is still out there. It doesn't matter if you wear the mask. It's still going to spread. And giving people a scapegoat in the form of the whatever small percent of people aren't wearing a mask outside in the woods walking around and saying that they're the reason why your kids can't go to school. That person is the reason why your daughter can't have her wedding. That person is the reason why you can't go get your surgery that you've been waiting to have. To do that is really a dangerous way to run a society.
Yes, it is. Especially since we've got big divisions in the society and they're reading their tribal script, and it's, yes, it is a problem. It's a problem now more than ever. John Berman is on this tear about kids getting COVID now and, uses every opportunity. Is he CNN or MSNBC?
I don't know.
He's one of the two. Well, probably MSNBC. But, he creates this, wraps up this big COVID burrito, which includes, of course, a shot at the current administration and Republicans.
An email that came to light overnight from a doctor who worked inside the Trump administration who was rooting for people to get infected to build herd immunity. And I'm not overstating that. He literally was. This is what Paul Alexander, again, who was an HHS senior advisor, said. Infants, kids, teens, young people, young adults, middle-aged with no conditions have zero to little risk. So we use them to develop herd. We want them infected, he said. Now, the reason, in addition to it just being startling that someone would ever say that I'm reading that to you now, is because
it's not startling if you get the disease and it's not something that will kill you.
Right.
Or it might be something that you never even know you have the disease.
Right. It's not shocking to say, I hope a lot of people get a non-dangerous illness so that it runs its course through society and then fewer vulnerable people get it.
There's an article in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, overnight, and one of the authors of it is Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who will run the CDC starting in a few weeks, which found that young people are dying at higher rates over the last year than they were before. It found that July appears to have been the deadliest month among this group in modern American history. Over the past 20 years, an average of 11,000 young Americans died each July. This number swelled to more than 16,000. We're talking about people ages 25 to 44, 5,000 more deaths in the month of July than the previous average. And the implication is that it's largely because of coronavirus. What does that tell you?
How is that the implication?
It's not. It's not.
I could think of several other things. Certainly, there's been a huge spike in crime.
Yeah, the murder rate is way up this year.
Murder rate is way up.
And that probably hits the 25 to 44 population pretty hard, I would guess.
Absolutely. And also, people don't have access to mental health services or haven't had access to mental health services, and there's a lot of suicides. There's a lot of drug use.
Drug overdoses, yep. It is interesting because I have followed some of these numbers, and it's tough because there is a time lag with how deaths get reported, so you don't necessarily know stuff right away, and you don't have all the detail right away. But it is looking for one thing, like murders are up, and probably overdoses as well. There's less clear evidence on suicide specifically, but yeah, I mean, and there's some evidence that young people's deaths were up even before the start of coronavirus back in January too. Over previous years, not to a level that was so huge it was attracting notice, really, but
it had been written about.
But yeah, I mean, I would say that there are these other factors that are coming into that. It's clearly not coronavirus, because we know how many young people are dying of coronavirus. We have coronavirus. We actually have much more detailed death numbers than we have on anything else, and we have them much sooner because we've been doing way more reporting on that than on anything else that we normally do. But yeah, deaths have been up this year for a lot of reasons. The coronavirus being one of them, but also our reaction to coronavirus being another. And certainly, I'm not trying to make the claim, as some people are, that lockdown deaths dwarf coronavirus deaths, because they do not. That is not the case. But certainly there's zero evidence that the young people's deaths are caused by coronavirus. That is a nonsensical claim.
Who is Sophie Turner, Alice?
Sophie Turner is an actress from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. So that's
she has red hair in Game of Thrones, and she's married to Joe Jonas.
Is she the woman who sings? Oh, okay. Who sings? I Am the Candidatorian or something. The one who Jay thought was sexy. She's
no. That's Amelia. I can't believe I don't remember her name. But she plays Daenerys Targaryen.
Okay.
Sophie Turner plays Sansa Stark.
Okay. Good. I can't wait to. I gotta catch up on this.
Emilia Clarke is the actress who plays Daenerys. Sorry.
No.
It came back to me.
No. What's that called? Because I'm gonna watch it. I don't want you to tell me what happens.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, please. Can't watch it to watch the thing about people fighting dragons.
White Walkers.
Jesus, I'm just still upset about the Red Wedding. All my favorite characters died. Oh my God. This is Sophie Turner.
If I can wear a mask while I give birth, you can wear a mask at Walmart. And that's the tea.
That's the tea.
The best thing about being condescended to by a stupid person is that they have no idea how overtly stupid and unintelligent they are.
If I can wear a mask.
And I'm worth something.
I'm very important.
I was in a TV show with dragons. I'm important if I can do it, while I'm giving birth to the heir of my precious fame.
She's married to Joe Jonas.
And worth that is a lot worth more than you're worth. If I can do that, then certainly, you are, I don't even want to say it, Joe, Walmart, you can certainly do it.
Mask while I give birth. You can wear a mask at Walmart. And that's the tea.
Do they even have Walmart in England?
I don't know.
So is she specifically talking to Americans? Because the rest of the world has this impression that everybody's just ignoring all the rules in America?
I guess so. I don't know.
Because I see most people do wear masks in Walmart, by the way.
We're near a Walmart, the kind of Walmart where...
The kind that Sophie Turner has never been to.
Right. And also the kind where if people weren't going to wear masks, they wouldn't be wearing them there. I could think it's safe to say it's a very Trumpy Walmart. Mm-hmm. The one up the street a bit. So that's Sophie Turner for you. I had never met her. I already
like her accent, though.
There was already a 0.0000004 chance that I was ever going to watch a Game of Thrones and watch people sword fighting.
I watched all the Game of Thrones.
Now I won't even more. Yes, Alice loves it. It's fantastic.
No, I don't love it anymore.
They kill babies
because,
on it, and everybody rapes everybody. It seems like a great show.
That is true, though. The one episode that Tom was in the room while I was watching is the one where they send out the people to kill all the potential illegitimate children of King Robert. So
yeah, great. It was a great show.
So Tom was horrified by that. But anyway, but now everybody hates the show. You'll be glad to know, even the fans of the show, because they ruined the ending of the show. So everyone's mad at it. Nobody rewatches it. It's like a whole thing. So
oh darn, I'll have to get into.
So
the
you
thing
should
where
be pleased now. No one likes Game of Thrones anymore. But
I'll get into the one. You know what? With the shrimpy guy from Love Actually,
the zombie show.
Is that? Can I
The
binge watch
Walking
that?
Dead?
Right, or
Probably.
the one where the high school guy starts selling crack.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, those seems just so appealing. I want to watch something about
Sophie
a freaking
Turner.
Drug dealer whose life is upside down.
Sophie Turner actually lectured the fans too after everybody hated the ending of the show and just like ripped the whole show and how terrible it was and how much they ruined it. And she said it was like ungrateful to people.
Oh, that's
and,
great.
Like, said that they should suck it up and that everyone worked really hard on the last season and they shouldn't
and
be
by the way,
if I can wear a mask while I give birth, you can wear a mask at Walmart. And that's the tea.
That's great. What a moron.
I do like her accent though.
So we had some. No, we don't like her accent.
I like her accent.
No, you don't.
If I can wear a mask.
So we had some snow up here in the Northeast today, as you know.
We probably have about a foot out there.
And I'm going to say something, another negative thing, and this is going to be terrible, Alice, because much like with the exception of you who are watching or listening, I don't love people having conversations about having binge watched a show I really need to watch.
You're not a big show person.
I'm not a big show person, okay? Like I was saying, like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad and all that crap. I'm not watching some fictional thing about a lot. I'm not investing into something that I don't care about.
You did watch Mad Men.
Of course, that was genius. That's different. That is different.
I'm trying to think what else you actually like.
I started to watch House of Cards.
But then it got silly.
Right. After he became a serial killer, I was like, okay. Oh, sorry. What did I just do there when I gave it away?
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Yep.
We watched some Silicon Valley. You liked that for a while.
Right. Until it couldn't find its own tail. It became like Lost, which I was just recently into too, in 2004. When Lost couldn't tie up any season's end, they're like, does anybody know how to end this? No. Anybody? No. Aliens? Okay. I feel dirty writing it, but here we go. But another genre of something I despise is local news. I can't stand it. I kind of enjoy
it for what it is.
Oh, I hate it.
We've had on VB on this show, but we used to always have Fox 25 on in the mornings here when VB used to be on it. And who was the weather girl who was on it at that time that I loved?
Irish name.
Cindy Fitzgibbons.
She was cool.
Yeah, I liked her and I liked VB, so I would watch that
channel was a little
every
different.
morning.
That channel was different. It was the Fox affiliate in town, and they were a little more editorial. They were a little edgy, which was cool. So that was a little different. House fires in Situate, and deer stuck on ice in Chelmsford. Even though
says the person who writes the story about the moose in the Merrimack River.
Oh, that was great. He was in the middle of a city, a moose. That was cool. But no, I'm talking about local TV news. And I can't stand a lot of the alliteration and how it's over the top. And when they get the most ridiculous, and I understand that this is how the media works, and I'm in the media, so I've done some of this showmanship, gamesmanship stuff to try to make things over the top, melodramatic. But when it gets snowy, they get the most horrific. But the weather makes a lot of money, so they're never going to stop doing it. But today, Kimberly...
But I don't remember. It has gotten worse because I don't remember. First of all, when I was a kid, not every snowstorm had a name.
Oh, yeah. That's
Hurricanes had names, but every snowstorm didn't have a name. That wasn't a thing back then. Nobody ever mentioned snow-nados or whatever.
I know.
Like,
it's so ridiculous. There was no snow-nados. Yes.
Or like the Arctic blast. Like none of this was... I don't remember any of that. Right. They just had there were sometimes storms, but there was just weather.
But you'd have
mostly.
they'd all stand outside. Now, Now they're all over the topic.
What's happening over there?
I just had to swallow. Kimberly Bookman from Channel 7.
Mm-hmm.
She seems very nice, and I have friends who work at Channel 7. I like Channel 7 Massachusetts. But she did this thing today where because it was snowing, and everybody, first of all, I also feel, and she didn't do this, or maybe she did, but not with her, but all over social media, I feel homicidal thoughts when I see people sticking rulers in the snow. I can't stand that. It's so freaking cliched. It's like, it makes me angrier than people who stand up during the 7th inning stretch and stretch. Oh, here we go, as the organ's playing at a baseball game, and they're like, you waited? You needed to stretch that bad, and you waited until the allotted stretch moment? Jeez, I can't stand that. It makes me crazy. That's why I didn't used to have Thanksgiving, Alice. You know this. It's not I don't want to do this thing that we all are told to do for some reason that sucks. But, okay, so here's the thing. Kimberly Bookman goes out there, and she's got household items in the snow. Using them to show us how much the snow is adding up. And this was in Gloucester, Massachusetts, or was it somewhere near Gloucester, which hadn't gotten that much then, but still, I appreciate that she was going to take a different angle. But for Christ's sakes, let's just get through the snow, Kimberly. If you must, just stand outside in the snow.
Now, this area is supposed to get at least a foot of snow, and sometimes it's hard to gauge exactly what 1 foot of snow looks like.
So?
So I brought with me some props. 7 of them, actually, for 7 News. These are
7 for 7 News.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
A bunch of geniuses in the marketing meeting.
Oh, that is total marketing meeting. Totally marketing meeting.
We're going, I know, we could have her bring out something different than a typical ruler.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, she could bring, a couple things. Or what about, how about 7? Because then we can tie it in to the number of the channel. 7 items, 7 news. Get it?
Right. And I was like, and I used to have to go to marketing meetings. And always, the idea of the marketing meeting is, because there's like 1 or 2 true believers who have read like The Tipping Point, or who back then had read The Tipping Point. Now I'm sure they're all leaning into it, whatever it is, or the newest thing of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to survive the meeting, because you had to have input, you had to win a meeting. So you had to have, the idea was to get out and survive. And if you can get a basket while you're in there, that's even better. But there'd always be the people who were mediocre or bad at marketing, and I was one of them. To survive, you would just work off of the frequency on the station. So I worked for 96.9.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we give away $96.9 every hour on the hour? Oh my God, that's incredible. Very good branding too. Mm-hmm. Wow, I worked at WRKO, which was 680. Why don't we have 680 days of freaking free coffee from Dunkin' Donuts? And it was like really the most disgraceful, like low rent, like way to win a marketing meeting. No, the branding is really good, really good. Look for something on the, if you're smart enough to look. But anyway, so she's got her 7 items, household items, because it's Channel 7.
Right.
7 sinks in your head, so you're not going to.
Then you're more likely to turn to Channel 7 next time you need the
there.
news.
For some reason, I don't know why I'm starting at 7 today, but I am. I don't know why. I don't believe a lot of marketing stuff too. Did I tell you about the woman? I had a big marketing woman myself about 15 years ago. We had an argument. I told her I don't believe this marketing crap works. A lot of this branding stuff works. Essentially, what we're talking about right now. And she said, "Oh, you don't really?" And then she put 1 foot up on the chair like this, and said, "Well, who is this? Who is this supposed to be?" I said, "Who do you think it is?"
Captain Morgan.
Right. I said, "Oh, is that the Captain Morgan guy?" She said, "Right, exactly. You see?" And I said, "Yeah, but Captain Morgan still sucks. It's still just Captain Morgan. I understand that you're acting like the guy from the commercials, but the product still sucks. But no, it's top of mind, front of mind now. There you go." And
just speaking of this is funny. Did you see this news story in the last day or two about the Oreos?
No.
So this might even have been the New York Times. I don't remember who published this, but somebody did a big article about why Oreos come out with so many limited edition flavors. Why do you think Oreos come out with so many limited edition flavors?
I think because people enjoy them? Because they're awesome?
Because they sell more of the original Oreos when they have special flavors out.
Is that true?
Apparently, it's true. Apparently, they have an uptick of when they come out with a new flavor, people go buy the new flavor, and while they're there, pick up a pack of regular Oreos. Or it just, like, puts Oreos in their head that, like, there's special flavors out. So they're like, oh, yeah, Oreos. Yeah, I'll go get some Oreos. So apparently, when they come out with a new special flavor, people buy more regular Oreos.
That is interesting. I don't know that I believe market research, but that is interesting. There's also supposedly with online subscriptions is that, let's say you've got your online subscription, which is $5 a month, you know, to watch the Burn Barrel podcast. If you have offer a premium subscription for $10 a month that gives you extra stuff, then many more people than usually get the $5 a month one. So that drives sales for the normal subscription.
Right.
And that supposedly is the marketing, how that works now. Who knows? I've got 7 items in the snow right now.
Okay, sorry,
Alice,
yes. We're branding 7 News right now.
Household goods here, and I put them down on the pavement. There's actually one that's deep in the snow here. You can't even see. It's a tennis ball because the snow is coming down.
We'll just have to imagine. So as far as I know, right now I'm tuning to Channel 6. You know, I only see 6 household goods. Taking her word for it, Kimberly, that there's a supposed mythical tennis ball under the snow here.
I'm so fast and furious that it's covering it.
It wasn't coming down so fast and furious, but I'm fine.
But I figured I would bring my handy-dandy measuring stick, and we could figure out exactly how much snow is coming down throughout the day.
This is what I don't understand. You got the 7 household items to better illustrate for us how deep the snow is. So right now, the snow is at least 1 tennis ball deep.
Yep.
And then she's got a mug there, and she's got like a bobblehead doll and whatever. She's using illustrations for us. This is a scratch and sniff book she's made for us right now that makes total sense to us. So why is the handy dandy ruler coming out like she's Joe Bastardi from the Weather Channel suddenly? I thought we had gone...
We had the items.
I thought we reimagined the ruler, and that's what the household items were.
Okay, so right now, this is a coffee mug you're looking at, and it's filled right to the brim with snow. And you can see on this measuring stick, that's about 7 inches at this point in time. So it's really coming down, and we expect that by...
It seems to me that if the coffee mug is filled to the brim, then the area outside of the coffee mug is equally as filled.
You would think so, yes.
Right. So I don't know if the coffee cup is doing any special work here. It's fine.
At the end of the day, most of this will be covered, so we'll continue to check it out and monitor it.
So that's all I have for the household items coverage. If she's still out there and all of the items are covered, then that would have been worth it. Oh, now you've got a friend involved here. One got through. Okay, so we talked about... I know that's just a small thing. Kimberly Bookman at Channel 7, you guys do a great job. I've got friends over at Channel 7, like I said. God bless you. I love you. Good luck with the snow. I'm glad you're still in business. We need all the media we can muster. By the way, Jacqueline Cashman did call me last night. I didn't answer. I was talking to somebody from my work, but at least she's alive. So, what was it? Just on working off of what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we played this great AOC audio where she's really setting the battle lines against the Democratic majority in Congress. She and the rest of the squad and the rest of the progressives want to, make the charge soon and make a power play. So now one of the establishment Democrats in leadership has essentially returned to fire.
There has been some disagreement, as you know, inside your own party with some of the more progressive members saying that Democrats gave up too much in negotiations. I want to play you a little bit of that.
This is Mark Warner from Virginia who's being talked to right now.
You can respond.
A Pelosi or a Schumer Democrat.
As somebody who was involved in putting this together. Watch.
So if you're asking me, do I think that this bill was well negotiated? I don't. There should have been a lot more money in it than there currently is.
It's really quite shameful that we find ourselves negotiating a deal with such a small amount of money.
You were very involved, of course, Senator, in the negotiations. How do you respond to that?
I say these are folks who've never negotiated any deal that I think has ever been successful.
Ooh, vicious. So there you go. The volleys are going back and forth on the two sides. Okay. Ready. Are you ready? Alice? Shattuck?
I'm ready.
Oh, sorry,
Did
you're
you
off.
turn me
I
off?
turned you off.
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you have any news items that we need to present? If not, I'm getting towards the next agenda item, which is a philosophical question or two. Do you have your thinking cap on?
Okay,
Well, we were going to read the thing about the Jill Biden's dissertation, but I think we did enough on that.
Yeah, we're fine.
All right, ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
I hope you're ready.
I'm ready for my philosophical
Look at me in your normal look and not your sweet video look.
I don't know. Do I look at you normally like I want to murder you? Is that
Yes.
Okay.
Does hardship make a person stronger? If so, under what conditions and at what point is it too much hardship? If not, what makes a person stronger?
Yes, hardship makes a person stronger. If they choose to let the hardship make them stronger. Some people encounter hardship and choose to not engage with it, you know?
What do you mean choose to not engage with it?
I mean, so this is a tough issue because it's tough to talk about how other people react to things that you're not reacting to, you know, because you only can deal with your own issues. You know, I can't lecture somebody else about how they should react to something that happens to them. I can only deal with the things that come to me. But, you know, I can choose when something happens to me, you know, how to react to it and whether to let it make me better. And, you know, there's always silly trite metaphors about this, like the pressure turns the coal into a diamond or whatever, you know, but you can choose to let hardships shape you and strengthen you, or you can choose to, you know, to crumple.
Well, I mean, what if they just hurt? What if they get to you? What if you work for somebody, a boss, and he's just an a-hole and he bothers you? I mean, he gets under your skin. It's so self-doubt and whatever.
I mean, well, that's the question, right? Like, when is something too much? When is and, you know, it's not a question that I have the answer to. It's not a question, but this is a question that's been examined by philosophers for a long, long time. Like, why do bad things happen to people? What makes some people react to things a certain way and other people not? Because, I mean, I use the phrase, like, people choose how to respond to things, choose to allow things to make them better, or don't choose that. But choice is kind of a loaded word, because there are all kinds of things that make people react to things.
Is the hardship of that child making you stronger right now, or is it, what effect is that having?
The child isn't a hardship. He's just fine.
Well, that's just because you're a good person.
Fine.
Now, I would say this about this question. Does hardship make a person stronger? I would say that, and this is a trend now as well, it's in vogue right now, is that there is currency and there is a sweet nectar in indulging in self-pity now, more than I've seen in my life, where there's almost a utility on it. You know, you can, it feels good. There's a validation in going on social media and just talking to your friends and letting them know about how a hardship, how some kind of existential thing has damaged you, you know, and made you in a sense more noble now, because you're emotionally damaged and you've got that scar now. So
yeah, but that's not what I think makes you stronger, is when you turn it into a liability and you say, like, oh, well, this bad thing happened to me, so now I can't be successful because the patriarchy pushed me down or whatever. You know, the way that you're made stronger by hardship is when you keep going. And I think that this is something, like, even though it's tough to talk about because it's tough to say, like, I would never dream of sitting here and saying, like, oh, like, people who get cancer, like, it makes them stronger and it makes them better, like, and that's why they get cancer. That's because that's a disgusting thing to say, But that being said, a lot of people go through some pretty tough things.
Well, cancer is a universe of tough things.
Right. But a lot of people go through a lot of tough things. And I'm saying that you can never speak for other people in their reactions to hardship, in my view. And that whenever people try and do that, you always come off like a jerk.
Well, maybe, but maybe sometimes it's worth coming off like a jerk. Some people need to suck it up.
But a lot of people go through really tough things. And I think there's a trend in our society, like you say, to say that you can't get ahead, or the reason your life is terrible is XYZ, or such and such a bad thing happened. Nobody knows why bad things happen to you. There's a whole book of the Bible written about this, the book of Job, and that book is full of people explaining to Job why what happened to him. And none of them has it. None of them has an answer. And so when I say that this is a question that people have been dealing with a long time, it's like, I'm not going to be able to answer it for you satisfactorily in 5 minutes at the end of a podcast, because it's just not. It's complex. But in general, yes, hardship does make people stronger and better, and shapes them in ways, and that our societal rejection of hardship as a valid thing to go through, that it's not okay that anybody ever goes through hardship, it is toxic for our society and for the growth of character in people.
And also, hardships, challenges, setbacks in life, gut punches in life, give you the opportunity to survive them, so that the next time they come down the road, you know that they're survivable, and you also are more skillful in learning to avoid them, or ameliorate them, or just simply handle
tolerate them.
Tolerate them, exactly. Exactly right, Alice Shattuck. By the way, I want to thank everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. We really have the best listeners, and yes. I don't say this enough, but they're very funny on Twitter, and they're great. I love all of you. The memes we like too. We laugh our asses off all day. I love the Twitter comments, and you can make them as nice and mean as you'd like, or to as well. Whatever gets your creativity going, I'm all for it. So thanks so much, and we'll see you in a couple days.
This has been the Burn Barrel Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod, Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast, on Parler at Burn Barrel Podcast. You can send us an email, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a YouTube channel, Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel. You can find all the videos of our episodes there. You can like them, comment on them, and you can even subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
C'est la vie.